it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and oh my gosh, it's a psychedelic cubist modernist owl. What is going on with him? I'm going to show you step by step how you can create this groovalicious abstract owl step by step in acrylic on canvas. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
He is the last painting in a fabulous daily painting challenge called Acrylic April. Every year I get together with my community and we paint together every single day, doing a different painting and learning about a topic. So this year's topic was abstract. It's something I've been asked about every year to do. And, abstract was like not maybe... I paint a lot of things that look like things. And so I was like, man, I'm going to go for it this year. So we've done 30 paintings, one every day on a different type of abstract. And I wanted to finish out the program with an owl because I've been painting owls. My first painting was an owl on YouTube. So kind of full circle. If you check the description below, you're going to see a link to the website. On the website is more information about our store. You can buy the materials you find here if you want to. There is a book that matches the Acrylic April program here, so you could get a step-by-step book. That definitely is helpful if you're trying to like learn something new. You do the videos in the book. It's like good synergy. There is also a school that you can go to. I want to thank everybody who has showed up for all 30 days. If this is the first painting that you found of me, man, you are going to have a blast. And if you like owls, I got a few more of those. I'm sure the moderators will share a playlist with you. There is nothing to do but get our paint, hidden in the description below, materials. Get our paint, get our brushes, come back. I'm going to show you how to paint this groove-tastic owl. So for today's lesson, I have an 8x8 surface. I've got phthalo green, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, Mars black, and titanium white. Shall we throw up step one? I am going to get a filbert, which is just a rounded brush. You could use a bright here. This here is a little filbert, and I'm going to use my T-square. This is a handy dandy measuring tool. And I'm going to measure the canvas's halfway point, and I'm going to use my burnt sienna to sketch this out. Now, at this stage, you could use the traceable if you didn't want to freehand this part of the painting out, and I would completely and totally understand that. So I line this up, and I'm going to do this line sort of two ways so that I make sure that I have it straight. That can be kind of a problem with an expensive T-square. These are pretty good, but they're not totally perfect. Wipe that up with my hands. Now, what we want here is we want a symmetry, right? Because we're playing with symmetry, but we're also playing with space. And to do that, I'm going to sketch loosely a round circle. You can see I just go round and around, just try to find my little circle till I get to my median of it. And then when I have that, where I feel like it's pretty much the same on both sides, I'm going to go ahead and bring a little bit of a shoulder, and I want to do about the same distance on both sides because we do want some symmetry. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's nice if it's pretty close. And then I can make a decision if I want to thicken some of this up. So I'm going to come here and kind of thicken that line up. Easier to do once the circle is set. Let's try to match that. So that's a nice thick little line, isn't it? That's pretty good. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this burnt sienna, and I'm going to go ahead and flick off a little bit of lines on each side. That's going to be a little bit of a guidance. And then we'll join those two kind of in the center there. That's very fun. I will get my black, a little more black. I'm going to make an almond shape that's going to represent the eye. Now, I mean, guys, like, you know me, doing an owl is so, like, deep cookie for this channel because like I have painted so many owls. My first painting on YouTube ever was of an owl. So I thought it'd be a fun way to end, you know, such a challenging, interesting little month that we have going. You can see I will look at my image and then make sure that they're sort of matched up. I'm going to go ahead and make a little downward triangle. And that is really, interestingly enough, going to be the basis for a set owl. Isn't that fun? What a weird little fun design. And if you go back and you look at the, you know, kind of original owl on the channel, you'll be like, ah, it's coming back. I mean, it's going to have to go in the owl playlist and everything, right? If you like owls and you want to know if I have more, so many owls. Let's try this and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Now I'm going to do some interesting two zones. My first zone, I'm going to rinse out my brush. This is the number 18 Raphael Artini brush and bright. I'm just picking a bright that's going to be nice on this side. And I do like that, you know, it's got a little bit of the hog bristle scruffiness. Scruffiness is always super enjoyable. And I'm going to come here and just brush this out. I've added a little white to the blue, the ultramarine blue. And I can even come in a little bit into the owl that I have sketched out. And that's just so that I have the room to make adjustments when I come back. I'm gonna kind of wipe that off. All right, rinse that out very thoroughly. And I'm going to paint a base orange on the other side. Now the orange isn't going to cover over my lines as well as the blue, but both things are okay because we're coming back with two coats. So I'm taking my cad yellow medium and my cad red medium, mixing 1 to 1. I mean the same amount of red as yellow, kind of getting a medium range orange. And then I'm painting the whole background with this. I'm not going to use white yet on this one. But we're just coming across here. Just painting that in. Just a fun orange background. So you see it's like the orange and the blue. It's a little bit streaky at this stage, and that's okay because we're going to kind of scumble in a little bit of a mistier, more interesting background. I want you to dry everything and come back. I'm going to show you what we do next. So I'm going to come back. I've rinsed my brush out and I've gotten it very, very like wrung out. It's just damp. And I'm going to come back with my red here and brush right back over that orange very lightly. And you can see that just creates a deep, deep depth. I like that very, very much. Rinse that out. And I'm going to come back with a little bit of blue. And you can see that just gives it a little more depth in the color. Sometimes in painting, it's just knowing that these two things, you know, are relative to each other and that you need both of them really to make it look right. That's a nice background. You know, it's very, so there's this idea of the way color pulls forward or pushes back. And in things like figure ground or cubism and things, we play with planes like that. And so this is sort of a fun tip of the hat to that. Let's dry everything and we'll get to the next fun, goofy, weird bit. So I'm going to do some interesting things here. I'm going to take a bright, this is a number 12 Raphael Textura, and I'm going to come around my circle with a little bit of white. I'm going to kind of get rid of some of those anchor lines just because later I'm going to have such a light color over here that it would have trouble covering them, but I don't want to get rid of every single line. You know, just getting the little sides of that little fellow. But I'm leaving the circle a little bit lined around the face. That's going to create a whole zone. Well, I don't want to take away that line. So I'll put that back. The division between the two faces is super important. Super duper duper important. You can see I'm just flicking those off to the side and thinning this line down. It's still there, just thinning it a little bit. And if I go a little longer over here, I'll have to like do a similar little thing over here. Just kind of make sure that we've got that bit of a symmetry there. I know it may seem counterintuitive to come back and reinforce the white, but keeping these lines either thin or light leaves me the guides, but I can come in and be very experimental with the colors, and even if my color is a bit transparent in nature, it won't bother me. And it will help my paint to stick better to the surface. So there's lots and lots and lots of benefits to it. Okay, I think we are fairly good here. We're going to dry this and we're going to start putting color on Mr. Cutie Pants Owl. Yes, we are. I'm going to get back into my filbert, the Isabey Isacryl number 4, and I'm going to use a little white and yellow. I'm going to come to the top, divide this fairly in half. Go ahead and kind of paint that out. A little stronger on the yellow to the outer flick, but nice and light perhaps coming in. Go ahead and do a stronger yellow on the inside circle. And again, I can always put the eye back, so that's why I'm not that worried about it. I'll come down here for the moment and just make sure this is fairly worked into that yellow. Now, I'm going to rinse out, come over, and I'm going to take this green over here, and I'm going to get a little of my green out and some white. See how it goes like crazy mint? It's crazy mint. This is going to have a little bit of mid-century modern like flair, I hope. I hope we get it there.
I can see that. I like the color selection. Certainly feels that.
Has a little bit of that feeling to it, yeah? Now I'm going to take a little of my green here and my yellow, mixing one on one and getting a little white involved. And we're just getting these little fields of color in. It's just so wild. All right, let's dry everything. And then we'll paint it again in a moment. But we come right back. So I'm going to come to the outside here and I'm going to play with my orange. I'm going to take my red and yellow together and I'm going to come down here and paint kind of a nice little orange in. Nice yellow and orange there. Yellow and orange. And in this first thing, what we're doing is we're just getting this area ready. Just getting this area ready for all the fun stuff, the groovy stuff we're going to do, the cubistic stuff we're going to do, just prepping it up, you know, because you got to have, because some of these colors are a little bit transparent, it's nice to come in and make sure. I'm going to get a little of my red, maybe a little more concentrated on here. And even at this stage, kind of, can you see how I'm blending in a little bit of a darker area there by using more cad red? That's going to help create some zones. I like that. The very, very much. Okay, let's rinse out so thoroughly, so completely thoroughly. And I'm going to come over here, right? And we're going to take a little bit of our phthalo green and our burnt sienna and a bit of our cad yellow. And get kind of more of a forest green. Kind of pulling this in this way. So I got a little bit of white in there and I want to pull that out. Adding maybe a little more yellow as we go down. What do you think of the crazy color combo?
I like it a lot.
This is a fun piece. And I think it's so fun to, on our last day of official Acrylic April, to do an owl. Every once in a while, I got to go back and do those owls.
I think it's because you give a hoot.
It's exactly why. How did you know?
I've been here a minute.
Been here a minute. You've met me. But I do give a hoot. I give a hoot about you guys. I give a hoot about your painting experience. Y'all matter. You really do. Coming in with just some green. And kind of doing what we did with the orange. So I'm just coming with green. Oh, didn't mean to get into my orange at all. Just, there we go. Come back and tip that away. So sometimes it's hard to get those little edges lined up, and I will fuss with that. Now I want to dry everything. We're going to dry everything, and we're going to come back and goof around with our owl some more. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to shift things a little bit, you know, in the eyes and kind of try to even those out a little more. I'm going to take some green and some yellow. I'm using a round brush. I'm using a number 10 round Textura. I'll show that to you. Right there, by Raphael. And I'm going to fill the inside area that will be the eye with green. Make it maybe a little bit bigger. I like it. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put out some more yellow because I need some more yellow for this. And we're going to do orange. Right? So we're flipping opposites, aren't we? And that's another way that we're playing.
That's an interesting
with
thing.
Space.
It's playfully colorful.
It's playfully colorful. So I'm going to come here and also make a nice big almond shaped eye like you do. They don't need to be perfect. It's just that you want them sort of radiating at the viewer a little bit. All right, let's call that a step and we're going to continue on. I'm going to take my round and just get a little black on here. And make sure that I paint in what will be the owl beak in black. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. We don't have to call that a whole new step. I think we can have that in another thing in a step because it's not a big thing to overcome.
It's just a little beak.
We're going to come over here. We're going to use the number 12 Raphael, and I'm going to grab, oh gosh, a little bit of my yellow, and I'm going to start making little upward squares. Can you see how I'm doing? Using the brush shape to kind of create this texture. So I'm talking about feathers, but I'm talking about it in a very kind of graphic, I added a little white to that one, kind of abstract way. Sometimes white, sometimes pure yellow. Look at that go. It's groovalicious. It's groovy, groovy, groovalicious. Now, I'm going to really kind of bring that across here. So I won't go past that much. I don't mind that. That's looking pretty good. So sometimes pure yellow, sometimes yellow and white. Really creates kind of a vibe, don't it? It's a super cool vibe.
It's super vibey.
Now, we're going to change our vibe. I'm going to come around here with my yellow and white. And I'm going to do little marks coming in along, almost like the horizontal line following the curve. See what we got? A little yellow, a little white, just little dashes. That's not bad.
No, not at all.
Not
I like it.
at all. It's a good time. Let's call it a new step, and we will slip over to the other side. So I want to have some fun down here, and at first I'm going to get a little bit of my burnt sienna and my phthalo green because they make such a lovely, lovely dark color. And I'm going to come through here. Oh, and let's make sure we kind of mark off our little area where we're going to stop. Little dark green. Not only dark green, we're going to add a lot of yellow into this. And come in with that little highlight. And it's a bit groovalicious. And if you want to, I can even get a little white in there. And get that marked out. Isn't that trippy? It's trippy. Also abstract.
I like it.
And super fun. I'm going to get a lot of my yellow, green, and white. And I'm going to come here and do a similar thing on this side of the owl's facey face that I did with the orange and yellow white. Now, let's call that a step. And come back, I'm going to show you what you're going to do up here. Step 10. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to definitely need more yellow. I'm going to use a lot of yellow on this particular painting. That's just, you know, how that's going to go.
We like yellow.
I like yellow too. So I'm going to put out a couple of things of yellow so I'm not struggling for it. You don't want to struggle for your yellow. It's super frustrating, right? And I'm going to take my round brush again. And I'm going to go ahead and definitely look out a little yellow on what would be those ears. Come in with a little white. Now they're fanciful. I'm going to get a little white and yellow in here and making little dashing marks. They kind of feel a little bit like, texturally it's a little bit like pin feathers, right? Do you see that? I'm building up that texture.
I like that little texture. That adds up to, you know, dimensionality.
There we go. It's looking good. I'll come back later with some orange in here, but I gotta let that dry where it is. We're gonna come over on the other side. And, you know, we've got our green and white. I'll just make sure this is fairly well done. And then a much lighter green and white. Same kind of dashy pattern. Same kind of wild texture. And a little kind of white brushed out. So again, groovalicious. Groovy, 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 groovy. Now let's come in here and we're going to do some interesting things. I'm going to grab a little bit of my blue and white, darker blue. It's going to be a little bit crazy. I'm going to line the top and I'm going to line the bottom.
Going to add some more contrast to the eyes.
I'm going to start an interesting thing that we're going to do there. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get a little bit of my red. Kind of work that there. So it's just really outlining it, isn't it? It's really noticeable in how that is really showing on there. I'm going to get a little bit of my white and yellow. And then some nice pure yellow. And I'm making little strikes, kind of like I did up there. These are like little feather marks. It's just the beginning of something. Take a little bit of green and yellow over here. Okay. And I may do another kind of light orange inside the eye, just to make sure that I have that worked out. So it has good vibrancy and good contrast. So fairly psychedelic at the moment. Go ahead and dry everything so we're going to start putting more personality here. It's going to get weirder it's just going to get weirder from here on out. It's weird all the way down. So I'm going to add some personality in the eyes. I'm going to use a #1 liner, Princeton liner. I'm going to get a little bit of my blue and quite a lot of my white to make a highlight color. And I'm going to come here right at just above the lid. I'm going to brush that down, arc that down. I had this owl inside of me when I started on YouTube. Oh, he would have been very popular. People would have been like, "This is the best owl." This one's not. This one is still pretty timely.
Well.
Even though owls are not on trend anymore. I don't care. I don't just do things because they're trendy. I'm improving the flow of my paint with water. That looks pretty good. It's got a little bit of that zhuzh. I get some just blue. Very dynamic. And I'm going to take a little of my green and yellow on my brush. Come in here and make sure this green inside the eye is just very vibrant. Now we're making it very vibrant. And come in and add a little white, maybe some more yellow. Just make it really glow. Rinsing out. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of my red and my yellow and perhaps some white into it just to really improve the highlight, and do a similar thing. Two lines, top and bottom. Kind of represents the wrinkling of the skin. Okay. So I'm going to take some red. Just make sure that those areas are super well defined. Might end up taking that more into the yellow when I'm finishing that out, you know. Now let's dry everything and we'll come back and continue on. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to continue on with my eyes and my detail. Even though they're decorative, it doesn't mean that I won't put the usual passion and love that I have into my eyes in these eyes. I'm going to make a little circle. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and let's hope I make a similar size circle. And once I have that in, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that, right, that's how I kind of get that worked out. Kind of work out the centers. I know, it's a lot. It's totally crazy. But you know, you got to end stuff on a fun note, in my opinion. A little bit of a second coat on there. Rinsing out thoroughly. I think I'm going to grab a lot of white and yellow. Come here on the outside, where I said I might take it more into the white and yellow. And I think that that was the right choice. And I'll fix that center eye in a second. But the green is good here. I'm going to go green and yellow over here. And a little bit of white. So that's light. It gets messy for a half second, and don't worry about that. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my blue. I'm going to very carefully with my liner brush outline that line in blue. And then we're going to get into the blue and white. I'll get more water into it to improve the flow. And remember, we can always use the fluid acrylic, can't we? So we're never, never, never stuck. That's pretty wild, isn't it? Sometimes I don't talk while I'm doing lining if I want to just like make sure my lining is smoothed out.
You know, concentrating. Sometimes I'm remiss to ask you questions while you're lining for the same reason.
For the same exact reason, my friends.
So now is like not the time to ask you about the latest installation at the Louvre, or what your thoughts are on bananas on the wall, or, you know, highly controversial art topics.
No, probably not. All right. I'm going to go back into my orange. I'm going to try to make sure that this is looking good. Coming in with the darkest value here of my lid color. Just weird. I may have to get my fluid acrylic in here just because I need the flow and coverage. I'm going to add that right there. It's going to help me. Sometimes I'll sit there and see if I can thin the paint that I have out down. And then as I'm working, I realize I can't. I'm going to make kind of a little sherbet. And what I'm going to want to do is just make sure that I've got a nice little highlight on my lid. There we go. And I'm going to take a little white over to my blue, quite a lot of it, because it's very nice and opaque, and I'm going to come kind of on the underside here. Just make sure the coverage is good. All right, let's head over to this eye and play for a little minute. We're going to take our red, just our pure red, and we're going to come on the outside. With our pure red. Trippy, trippy. And then I'm going to go on the inside with a little bit of my red and my white. Just a trip. Trippy, trippy, trippy. And
I think
I'll
it's looking great, though.
improve the size of the eye. I hope so. Kind of flicking off that maybe hidden drop of water that might be. Just come in here with like a little highlight there. I'm not hating it. While I'm at it, I'm going to take a little of my yellow and kind of touch up right here. Because I do want that to be tighter than that. And then I'm going to grab some of my green. And also kind of touch up right here. Gonna grab my white, come into the green, and let's come right up that little arc of it, like that. And come up with just yellow and do kind of a similar thing. Just a little bit, you know. Now I'm going to grab some white. Come at the bottom of that eye. Need more white. So a little white at the bottoms of those eyes. Okay, let's dry everything and then I'm going to show you what's next on our crazy wild owl. So we're going to do some fun groovaliciousness. I'm going to come here with my blue and my white. All right, mixing up blue and white, loading my brush. This is the bright, the 12 bright. I'm going to add some of these blue little dry brush marks into that. It's pretty crazy. And then I'm going to load on the edge of my brush and make little dashes here along the division between the halo and the body. Right? So the face halo, think of a barn owl. Sometimes I'll add some more white to that. So that there's almost like two tones. Isn't that just weird? And we like it for being weird, don't we? That's what makes it fun. Let's come over here. Yeah, we're going to get groovy with it as well. I'm going to take a little bit of my red, and I guess I'll get my yellow involved. Just so it's not the same value, because like the cad red and the phthalo green are really only one shade. If you think of like if you took a picture of this, they're not that different from each other in value, light or dark. So sometimes I'll do something to lift the value. Adding a little yellow. It's good. But because I want this line to be dark, I will just get cad red loaded on my brush and make little marks just like I did with the blue, dividing the little halo of the face. So this is like, if you painted a lot of owls with me, you even know what these feathers are. When you know an animal, when you study something well, and then you go to paint it abstractly, you can include little details in it like this that help it feel kind of amazingly, weirdly authentic, if that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah,
let's call this a step and come back. I'm going to show you what you're going to do next. So I'm going to come in and start adding some more lining details and some more like, oh, this is weird detail. I'm going to get a little bit of my blue. I'll go ahead and get my white involved a little bit. So it won't be the darkest blue I have, but it will be pretty dark on my #1 monogram liner. And I'm going to do a little line that comes up over the arc and bends up to separate that from the ear. And I will go ahead and make little dashes up here, kind of like little lines. See how we're doing with that blue. I'm also going to make little marks loosely and openly around on the face. See how we're doing?
Yes.
Little marks. They're dashes. These are just dashes. I'm going to grab a little of my red. Just make sure the outside of my eye is very cad red. Cad red is a powerful color. I'm going to grab a little bit of white. Make sure that mark under that eye is quite graphic. A lot of white and yellow. We're going to come here. Painting little lines that represent kind of pin feathers. Around the beak. See how we're doing? They kind of curve, a lot of white on them. Oh, that's looking good. Okay, let's call another step. I'm going to come around the other side. Come under there and line that a bit too. Just making those eyes a little more interesting, yeah? Let's come here and we're going to get some of our red. I'll go ahead and thin it with some water so it'll flow off, but it's sort of the same basic thing. I'm going to take this here. Little dashes coming out. It's lovely. Little dashes around the face, same way. Does he not just get more groove-tacular by the second?
It really does.
He had an odd, ugly stage, but I'm really loving him now. Trying to make sure that his inner eye has just got the two distinctive lines that the blue one does. Kind of like circles or bags under the eye, if that makes sense. He's not disgruntled per se, but we're just trying to make sure he looks a little sleepless. I'm going to just continue on. I'm going to take a bunch of this yellow over to my yellow green color. Making kind of like a lovely, lovely mint. And I may even put some white over here because I really just want to be able to get these other pin feathers in. And these little green, yellow ones go the opposite way. So they're the same but different, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that kind of gets his little beak in line. I'm going to get a little bit of my orange on my number one monogram liner. Kind of get the top of that eye. That really makes it more vibrant, I think. Clearly a blue eye, but I'll come in with my yellow and white. Kind of over the top there too. So that gets you some groovalicious, interesting color. I'll have to come put my little black back in. I just wanted to make sure I don't lose my blue.
Now he looks like Hypno Owl.
He's got a bit of a Hypno Owl kind of vibe going on. I really am completely loving him. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white. And I'm going to make a little dash inside the little marks, the square marks. Little dashes. Under the beak, I will touch up the green a little bit and the yellow white. And so you can touch up things with your detail brush at this stage around him and inside. So see how that's super, super helpful? I very, very much like that. Gonna do the weirdest thing. I'm going to take a little red. Make that little stripe there. And take a little blue. Again, you just gotta...
This is really cool.
Oh my goodness. I am super de-duper thrilled with him. You know, I'm just doing some, I'm just sort of making that sure that these two lines kind of end in that same space. Just because that will help those pin feathers. And I just look around and, you know, this is that time that you can kind of work out in symmetry and stuff like that. But this is really where I'm trying to take him. If I sign over here, I add a lot of weight over here. And if I sign over here, I add a lot of weight over here. You just have to decide if that's what you want to have on your owl. And that's hard for me to know. You know what I'm saying?
Hard to know what you want to do.
Yeah, but I think I am going to sign because it is objective enough to have directionality. It's unlikely that we would hang him upside down. Started the signature inside of him and let it carry out just because that was going to actually, if you'll notice, that created a little less of like a visual obstruction pulling it across. If I had just done it here on the side, it would have been just like really weighty on the side. So it's just decisions that you make.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know,
this is so nice.
Yeah. I mean, you could outline him, you could do other stuff, but this is just sort of this is the end that I had envisioned of Acrylic April for abstract as a theme. I just wanted something where you guys could remember the beginning. For those of you that have been here since the beginning of the channel all those years ago and the first owl, and who painted so many owls with me. And we haven't had an owl in a minute, so coming back to that and making a psychedelic owl that's a little cubist, that's a little mid-century modern. It just, it had a feeling of coming full circle. And I hope you're coming full circle in the program, right? So maybe you just came in because you were like, this owl is like what I've been looking for my whole life. Maybe that's why you came, and that's wonderful. And I would highly encourage you to check out the rest of the program, but maybe you did all 30 days with me. So I want you guys to give yourself a pat on the back and congratulate yourself. It's hard work to do a daily painting. It's difficult to do a daily painting. I can tell you, if you do a daily painting in a genre that's outside of your inclination as a painter, like, you know, if you do a lot of realism and then you paint abstract, that asks a lot of you, asks you to learn a lot of skills, re-examine how you evaluate design and line and form and function in a bunch of new ways. And even as you go back to what you prefer to paint, you will be a stronger artist. You can use this idea to say, hey, I'm not good at cars. I'm not saying I'm doing this next year, but you could say, I'm not good at cars, and do 30 days of cars. You're going to come out of that better at painting cars. So this is also a good way to get over an obstacle, a mental obstacle or emotional obstacle in your art, and say, all right, I'm going to give this a go for just 30 days every day. And at the end of it, you know, it'll be over, but I will understand this type of work better. And you will understand this type of work better. And so I hope you loved everything. Check the description below if there's anything you saw in today's video or any of the other videos. It's probably in the Art Sherpa store. This weirdness is a book that you can purchase on Amazon, as are hopefully by now all the other Acrylic Aprils previously, except for 2019. So it'd be like 2020 through 2024. You know, check out our books on Amazon. Yeah, I wrote a bunch. It's wonderful. You're going to love it. And those have step-by-step photos that cover everything you need to know about this. There's also the school description down below. Remember where I had things? So you can go to the school if you want to get your certificate and have your, like, I did all 30. There's the group where, you know, you can have a celebratory party of we did it. I can't believe how good we did. Guys, I want you to be good to yourselves. And I definitely want you to keep painting, and I want you to be good to each other. And I really hope that I get to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.